Baby-led weaning is all the rage, especially if you're a crunchy mom, and I'm kind of a crunchy mom. So when we were getting ready to start solids with my son, I was like, oh, we are definitely doing baby-led weaning and almost no purees, but I was in for a wake-up call. Baby-led weaning scared the crap out of me. Hey, welcome to today's video. If this is your first time here, I'm Amber. I make kind of crunchy motherhood and lifestyle videos. If you like that sort of content, please hit that subscribe button down below. I'd love to see you around here more often. Today, we are talking about the journey to starting solids for my son and I say myself because it felt like a journey for me as well. I talk about getting over the fear of choking, allergies, and then just my overall tips and takeaways for starting solids, whether you're gonna do purees or baby-led weaning. I had it in my head that there is no way we are doing purees. I told my parents we were gonna do this and they were like, are you nuts? But just from all the research I was doing, baby-led weaning just seemed like the best way to go. Purees actually were not invented to prevent choking. Don't quote me on this, but I believe that purees actually began as canned baby food, but it was like whole foods, like whole pieces of pears or something like that. And they were just canned, and the point was more out of convenience for parents to not have to like prepare their baby's food for every single meal. And I think that eventually the baby food companies decided to start marketing it as something that's safer for your baby. On the other hand, a lot of people are saying baby-led weaning prevents pickiness. And so of course, most of us do not want to end up with picky eaters. I'm not sure if that's completely true because when you think about it, most of the time babies aren't gonna eat purees for that long, considering the fact that by like 9-10 months, they're usually ready to start taking like bite-sized pieces of things, even if they're on purees. And it seems like a lot of babies and toddlers go through phases where they just wanna try and eat everything and where they're a little bit more weary of things regardless of which method you choose. So it was time to start giving him solids, and I was feeling more anxious about it as it was like really approaching, like when it was right around the corner, but looked up some good first foods on Solid Starts. Really recommend that app. It's also just a website, so you don't have to download the app, but they have a huge database of foods for your baby, and you can look up like when the best time to introduce those foods are, how you prepare them, and like if they're a choking hazard or not. So we decided to start with an avocado mash, and he wasn't super into it, but he did pretty good. So I thought, okay, let's try a whole food next time. So we gave him a soft boiled carrot, and you're supposed to give it to them pretty big, like the width of 2 of your fingers and several inches long. He takes a huge bite out of this thing, and I panicked. I was like, nope, never mind. At that point, I was really unsure about baby-led weaning. I think we might have tried 1 or 2 other foods, and the anxiety was killing me, and I was just like, no. I talked to one of my other girlfriends who was full-blown doing baby-led weaning with her daughter, who's only 1 week younger than Kai, and she was like, oh, I just trust the process. And I was like, okay, because I clearly did not trust the process. At this point, I really was thinking maybe we just go ahead and do purees and mashes, but I felt really intense mom guilt because so many people are out here preaching baby-led weaning and almost making it sound like it's bad if you do purees. So I felt like I was making the wrong decision for my son, but at the same time, what felt like making the right decision felt really, really wrong, like in my gut. I read something that said, you want the starting solids journey to be enjoyable for your baby, but also for you. And so if baby-led weaning is really making you anxious, maybe that's not the right approach for you at this time, because you can always start it down the road too. Especially considering the fact that babies and toddlers feed off of our energy. So if you're just sitting there like, while they're eating, they might pick up on that and it might make them nervous as well. So reading that really just gave me what felt like permission to go ahead and primarily do purees and mashes. I made everything myself. It's actually really easy as long as you have a blender or a food processor, and I didn't like puree the crap out of things. Some things maybe a little bit, but for the most part, I would try to leave those things as textured as I can. And we did also introduce some baby-led weaning foods in there as well, like foods that I felt really confident he wasn't gonna choke on. So like a mango pit or corn on the cob, or you could do like a banana and you just cut a little sliver of the peel off so that they can't take a whole bite of the banana, but they can kind of just like nibble on the little part that's exposed. And with his purees and mashes, we mostly encouraged self-feeding as well. So we would give him a spoon and just let him figure it out. We'd of course show him what to do, and he actually picked up on that very, very quickly. Kai also had a really strong gag reflex. So there were a few times, even with kind of chunkier purees, where he gagged so hard that he threw up. So it was really hard for me. I would be literally taking deep breaths while he was eating, like full blown, like, most of us have never seen someone actually choke, and so we don't really know what that looks like. I looked up the difference between gagging and choking, which I highly recommend you do. I think the two biggest differences are one, that if they're choking, they're gonna turn blue, whereas if they're gagging, their face will be more red. And if they're choking, there's not gonna be any sound because their airway is blocked. If they're gagging, there's going to be sound, like if they're like, that kind of a thing is gagging, not choking. But I would see him gag, and even though my logical side of the brain would be like, no, that is gagging, it's not choking, the other side of my brain was like, he's choking, you need to do something. And the problem with that is if you try to intervene when they're not actually choking, a lot of our initial instincts could actually make the situation worse. So I know one of the big instincts is to stick your finger in their mouth and to try to like get the food out, which if you really needed to do that, I suppose you could look it up, I don't know, but I know that a lot of professionals will tell you that if you do that, you risk accidentally shoving the piece of food further back into their throat. Another one is if you think that they're choking and you go, you might actually make them also go, in which case same thing could happen. Something that made me feel a little bit better was watching a whole video about what to do if your baby or toddler is choking. Really recommend you do that. There's also this like little suction thing that you can get on Amazon. There's a couple different ones. I didn't buy it, but I have it in my cart. I might actually still get it because there's a child attachment, but there's an adult attachment too. And you like stick it on the mouth and then you push down and pull up, and it's supposed to help suck out like the stuck piece of food. But you still want to know what to do if your baby is choking, because I know that this sucker thing is meant to be used after you've already tried to get it out of them like the traditional way. And of course, the more he ate, the better he got, and the more I watched and observed him, the more comfortable I started to feel. Allergies is another thing that I know a lot of people are nervous about. I actually was not very nervous about this because I read that you're supposed to, one, start off with a really small amount, and two, you give them a bite of whatever that small amount is, and then you like wait 5 minutes or so to see if they have any sort of a reaction. And because you're giving them such a small amount, they're really unlikely to have like a closed throat reaction. Instead, they're more likely to have a mild reaction if they're allergic to that thing. And also, early exposure to common allergens can help reduce the chances of them actually developing an allergy to those things. So knowing that, I felt really confident, and that's exactly what we did. I would just put like a quarter a teaspoon of peanut butter into half a cup of yogurt or something, mix it up, give him one bite, wait 5 minutes, give him something else in the meantime, and he was good, and then we would just keep going. At about 9-10 months old, we started giving him more bite-sized pieces of foods and backing off of the mashes and purees almost entirely, and he would definitely still gag. It still made me nervous, but not quite as nervous because he had been eating solids for like 3-4 months at that point. even though that technically means nothing because swallowing is not something that babies have to learn, it's chewing that they have to learn. So it's really a matter of, do you want to deal with gagging sooner or later, because they're gonna have to learn to chew at some point. So if you start with the baby-led weaning right away, they're going to learn to chew and there's gonna be more gagging right away. And if you do what I did and you wait, they're still gonna have to learn to chew and they're still probably going to gag a little bit later. For me, later just felt better. And more recently, he's almost 16 months now, we're working on bigger bite-sized pieces, and we're actually about to just start giving him his own plate and just putting most of or all of his food on there, as opposed to giving him like a few bites at a time that he can just pick at and then we give him some more. Okay, so overall tips for starting solids, no matter how you're doing it. The first and most important thing is that you choose the method that feels safe and comfortable for you, because it's important that you're able to stay calm during the process and you want to be enjoying it as well. It should be fun for both of you. The second tip is to have your baby watch you eat. So as much as possible, take them with you to the table. This might actually seem kind of gross, but I would actually open my mouth and show him like moving the food to the side of my mouth and chewing, or I would do this as I was chewing so he would kind of understand and have a little more visual about what you're supposed to do. Third is to use solid starts. I already talked about this, but I really recommend using the app or the site. It is gold, and their Instagram is really awesome as well. And I've noticed that if you ask a question on one of their posts, they're very good about responding. So solid starts. This one might seem weird, but you can look up videos of babies gagging on food, like on YouTube or on Instagram. I'm pretty sure Solid Starts actually has some on their Instagram or maybe even on their website. That is really, really helpful, so that way you don't have as much of that instant knee-jerk, they're choking reaction, because you know what a gagging baby looks like and you know that that's really normal. And the last thing is kind of just my own opinion, but if you're worried about picky eating and you're not really sure if the baby-led weaning thing is for you, keep in mind that I think variety is really more important than anything. Keep giving your baby or toddler a variety of foods, even if at some point they absolutely reject what you're giving them. Don't just knock it off as something that they don't like. My son right now is going through a little bit of a picky phase, and sometimes he will like something one day and then the next day he wants nothing to do with it. But I read something, I read kind of a lot. I read something that said that the goal is not to get them at this age to eat a variety of foods in one meal or even in one day, but to set them up to enjoy a variety of foods throughout their entire life. And that just really put it in perspective for me. If you're scared like I was, I don't want to tell you don't feel scared, because I think it's actually really normal to feel that way, but to not look at what other people are doing with their kids, because you are not them and they are not you, and just to do what works for you and your baby or toddler. If you found this helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps out my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!